consultants, you said you were in the final stages of...
Yeah, I sent that around. What we're doing is moving people to a high deductible HSA program. And what we want to do, and I haven't convinced my brother selectmen yet that we're doing this the right way, but what I want to do is negotiate each family's situation is different, and so we would like to contribute to the HSA as a community. We'd also like the employee to contribute to the HSA, but the band of rates from single to family is so great that I don't think a one-size-fits-all approach to that would be good. I don't think it would be humane or even achievable. So we're still sort of stumbling along with that. And then we haven't answered the question definitively about, so if the town contributes to your HSA, do we still take a deduct from your paycheck of 13% for premium support? And I don't have an answer for that either. But I have all the data in one place, and I've distributed it to my boys. Again, that's a decision that must be made in December. No screwing around. We will either make that decision or be shopping for health care coverage on the 1st of January, because they'll throw us out if we don't decide.
Do you have any resources to talk to about what's appropriate for that? What other towns do, and also the same thing with the opt-out. Do we have any kind of an HR consultant that gets used? We've got a couple of people in town that have done that kind of work, although they've been retired for a few years, and it might not have been, that kind of plan may not have been as popular as when they were working full-time.
We have talked to the school, which is not perhaps a good example. And we don't have an HR consultant on retainer. You provided some info about opt-out, which we're not currently using, but it still would be great to have a policy in place before we actually needed it for once instead of the other way around, which is our customary way of doing business. We know anecdotally what large employers in the area do, but none of that is particularly systematic. And because it represents a change for each of our employees, it will in all likelihood wind up costing them money at one point or another in their career. We need to be sensitive to that as well. There is a variety of opinion on the select board about how this may turn out.
Did you say you were going to a meeting with other towns sometime in December? Might that be a topic of discussion for that?
I bet it will be. That and fiduciary oversight of trust funds. Two burning questions for me. So what we have been doing is buying very good and very expensive health care for our employees and asking them to contribute, demanding that they contribute 13% to offset that much of the premiums. That's a significant amount of money for a guy making $15 an hour with a family, because I forget what Marcella's premium was. I think it's $22,000 when you had a family. So we need to move away from that, I believe. I bet the voters believe that too. And so do the feds, because if we continue with the program we're on, in 2018 we'll be paying a 41% luxury tax or Cadillac tax on these current plans, should they exist that long. Who knows what the health insurance industry will look like. And all of this came about because of World War II, when wages were frozen, and employers needed to find a way to build loyalty in their staff. And insurance was really, really cheap and an excellent idea. But once you get it in there, we saw an 8.5% increase this year, part of our program.
I don't recall that there was very much in the way of health insurance back in World War II. Blue Cross came in, to my recollection, after the war.
Can't help you with that. What else can I do for you folks before I sneak out?
Well, we do have our punch list on the agenda. If there's anything that you want us to say about that?
I made a change to the punch list on the webpage a week ago, but I confess I can't remember what it is that I thought I'd accomplished.
And I haven't,
Didn't show up.
I haven't posted it, that's my fault.
Oh, it's good to know who to blame. Well, perhaps you could tell us what I did. I think it was something minor.
It was something that wasn't on the punch list, and that's why I
Oh, terrible.
Well, that's not very helpful, is it?
There was something about the phones, getting
Another line?
admin phones.
Oh, well, you've got that down here, and Juliana's not here. What we did successfully do was get in-house the, made a current employee the person in charge of the phone bill. That was surprisingly difficult to do. So Penny's the point person for US Cellular now. Seems appropriate.
Right, so I will add that item, mark it down.
Well, Julie had suggested a number of ways to save money on the phones, including redistributing some of them and so on. Is that something that can happen or will happen? Have you looked at her recommendation?
I haven't received the recommendations. I'd be inclined to take them rather than study the circumstances myself, assuming that that job had been done well by people who were focused on it.
Well, I'll give you what she sent.
Is this your only copy?
No, she emailed it, so I have a copy.
Okay.
Send her an email.
So I'll study this and
Among other things,
put it on the
apparently,
agenda for next
we're
week.
paying for a phone that Ernie has or has had, and we don't even know where it is.
Let's call it. So my movement on this would simply to be, make sure I understood this page and a half, and then turn it into an action item for next week's select board meeting.
Okay.
And then try to fight through the giant US Cellular bureaucracy to make it happen, but I won't have to do that, Penny will. Perfect.
Earning her money. All right, anything else for Joel?
Tips? Grooming tips?
The warrant article wording for the fire truck is okay.
More than likely. I mean, I think we've included something about the spec and,
We got time to make it perfect, and you,
Right.
my concern is that
Philosophically, we agree.
the committee gets exactly what they want that warrant article to do. I don't want any part of that. The cautionary tale is that all of these things get legal review after we're all done with it. And there could be some changes forced down our throats that we will not like, but I think it's unlikely in this case. Usually the statutory complications are for planning and zoning and, weird sign ordinance kinds of stuff, and that's not really where
Yeah, the MSG just wanted something in there so that that spec was referenced, so that, we didn't do all this work and say, this is the kind of fire truck we want, and then somebody says, screw it, we're gonna go out and buy this.
We did that once in this town. And I don't think we would do that again. How many returns do you think you get on your solicitation?
We had four that said that were gonna submit quotes, so.
That's terrific. Civilians will remember that the selectmen have no obligation to take the lowest bidder. We have a pledge and perhaps an obligation to take the best overall deal for the town.
Well, I think we take a little review to decide which one is really the lowest bid anyway, because if somebody comes in $50,000 lower, but the truck's being made in California, and you've got to fly out, to check it and see, and somebody's going to fly out and drive it back, all of that adds to the cost, so.
I'll drive it back.
Almost.
I'm just going to volunteer to drive it back.
But like,
But only if
fire,
we made it
chilling,
yellow.
we can get it.
I agree, and I'm hoping that that's a task that your group will take on. Because I don't think the selectmen are competent to do that evaluation.
And it may be something that we need to get together, once we're ready to make a recommendation, we'll have to all sit down together, but we're still getting email copies of the quotes, and we're getting hard copies, so when you do start seeing stuff, if somebody lets us know for sure, so we know we got the email of it, that would be helpful, so.
Yeah. Remind us of the deadline.
January 4th.
That really should be plenty of time to both do the evaluation and to make sure that the warrant article's written proper. We don't have to wait till the last minute to get our legal review, but we shouldn't be asking for it twice. So we should just agree at this level what we want on the warrant and then get it out there. I think we actually might be further ahead than we are in some years on that particular task. That would be a miracle. I gotta go. Thanks for your time and attention.
Thank you.
We need to meet this week, or weekend, actually, it's gonna work better for me. Look, here's a fire truck.
Yeah.
Just buy one of these.
No problem.
Two of them. Three of them, actually.
He's got a nice 150-foot lot.
We could use it to fix the cell tower.
So the committee reports. I guess we've covered the cell phone recommendations. Anything else from general government subcommittee?
Well, I have a draft for the proposed mail.
Good, that's the
Has
next.
been seen by nobody but me. We have copies, admittedly, they're on a short time frame.
There was an email that Mary had sent out saying she wasn't going to make it, which was after 7.
But I tried to refine what I had first drafted and reflect some of the concerns that have been mentioned at other meetings. So I kept it very short.
We're ready.
You want me to read it?
Please.
Okay, if you look closely at your recent property tax bill, it may seem a little confusing. Chances are that the December payment is less than the June payment, but the tax rate has gone up. How can this be? Property taxes are less in 2015 than they were in 2014. The town's operating budget alone is about $100,000 down from last year. But we also had a town-wide reevaluation, which resulted in, and I'm saying 13% reduction in the total evaluation. I have heard 8%, I've heard several different numbers. That's the latest one I heard, and I don't know if it's true or not.
Who'd you hear it from?
I don't remember.
The last I knew from Linda was 8%.
You heard 8% last, I know that.
But, well, no, my point is that should be
That needs to be checked.
right.
Oh, yeah.
That should be a real number,
It's
right?
gotta be a real number. I put a number in there that was the closest I heard.
Okay.
Of course, this does not mean that each individual property went down this much. Some went down more, some less, some even went up. The main lesson here is that it's not the tax rate that is important, it's the tax bill that counts. And then I went on to a little, if this is a little hard to understand, get involved. The Board of Selectmen meets every Tuesday, and during budget season, the Advisory Budget Committee meets every Wednesday. In these meetings, the annual budget that will be presented to the voters is determined. Also, don't forget the official budget hearing that will be held, and I don't have the date, it's in January. I just didn't have that at my fingertips.
January 12th, I want to say, is the hearing. February 6th is the deliberative.
And the actual, the budget is actually.
January 12th is deadline for petition articles. January 12th is the budget hearing,
Okay.
and the deliberative session is February 6th.
Well, I'll just do the budget hearing. And that was it. You want more, you want less? I could not see getting into any of the technical details. I'm not sure that we all even understand all the technical details at this point.
Would it be worth mentioning that some of these changes in the valuation for the town are based on the real estate market and how, since the last evaluation, the market says our properties aren't worth what they were for the last?
That's kind of a negative thing, and
Okay.
why remind people?
And I think you could debate that to some extent, too. You know, Joel's made the comment that this is roughly what you sell your house for. Well, you know, that's a pretty scary thought if that's the case.
No, it's not, those evaluations are not really much dependent on market. They're more on a formula, so many square feet, so many bathrooms, such and such a condition. How big is your lot? They're not comparing these against Zillow or somebody of that sort. So I don't think that's worth, that's a worm can that I would just as soon leave a lid on.
My property value, based on what the assessor said, jumped 10% in July, and then it dropped 20% in December. It's insane. It's crazy, because that is not what happened to property values. But that's what happened to my assessed value. So who cares, you know, as long as my tax total went down.
Yeah, that's my whole point. Look at
Right.
the tax total. Forget the foolish rate.
Yeah.
But, you know, just to try to, you know, there are people that you'll never convince. It's all about the rate.
Yeah.
But as I have said, perhaps cynically, and most of the really controversial issues in this town are decided by a handful of votes. You do not have to persuade everybody. No, seriously. If we can inform enough people to make a rational decision instead of an emotional decision, there doesn't have to be too many of them. And things will pass in ways that we presume are in the best interest of the town.
Would it be helpful and useful to refer to the portion of our tax bill that's school and county as independent from?
I hate to get into that because of an article I saw in the local paper 2 days ago. The county has not yet set its 2016 budget. And will not do so until congressional or the legislative delegation meets sometime in the future.
I was in the selectman's office today, and I had one heck of a thick pamphlet laying there for the county budget.
Yeah, that's the proposal.
Right.
But it isn't passed until the whole legislative assembly looks at it. And part of that is a problem because they don't know what their total revenue is going to be until June of 2016. So the things are, you know, different fiscal years, legislative appropriations. It's hard to figure out how DRA gets around setting a tax rate. Stop thinking of it. But I don't think we want to go into something that, admittedly, I don't completely understand at this point. Is it time to keep your mouth shut?
So, when should we be sending this out?
If it is acceptable to the group here tonight and to the 2 other people who are on this subcommittee, ASAP.
Can you send out can you send it to us, Sam, so we can look at it? No.
My Gmail thing is a complete catastrophe.
I'll send it out if you want.
So we could potentially vote on this next week, right?
Yep.
And probably should.
Next 2 weeks.
Right.
And Julie's not here next week.
I do not have a complete Gmail thing set up on mine.
Okay, no problem.
And I can't figure out how to do it either. Well, I would have. No, I don't want to.
Do you want to indicate your
I'm accustomed to.
Yes,
approval?
That's fine.
and I don't have any problem with making a decision about my vote, so, but thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank my wife, she prodded me to do this last week.
Well, the committee thanks your wife. EMPD committee, anything else, Carol?
I think we've talked about the bidding process at this point. The job descriptions that came up last night because Marcella wanted to go out today and advertise for a new patrol officer, which the Board of Selectmen did agree that this would be the way that they were gonna go. But there was concern over job description, so he was able to dig one up, which was about 6 pages long, and it was shared with a few different people, unfortunately not electronically, because it came out of some massive PDF document that they had. And so, I didn't feel there was anything massively, any massive issues with it that it needed to be brought before the EMSG. So, the other member of the EMSG that resides in the same dwelling as I and looked at it, and we sent a couple of notes back to the selectmen, Marcello and Roger and Penny, and then we also had a short one that the EMSG had that was more similar to the one written for the police chief, and so we made a couple of notations in that, sent it back. So they've got two potential ones to choose from, and so I don't think it's going to be a big deal to get something of that finalized and go out and advertise it. That's what they want to do as soon as possible.
So this position is officially called patrolman or?
Patrol officer, yeah.
Patrol officer, right.
Okay, so they can go ahead then with that, with advertising
Well,
from your
from my perspective.
committee's perspective.
Right, yeah. Unless my committee tells me otherwise tomorrow night that they want more work and want to go over, which I doubt they will, so. Since 2/3, so. I mean, they were both, it was a very detailed job description that Marcello had, possibly a little too detailed, but it certainly would work.
Is this the one they used to hire Roger?
I don't know. It was 6 pages long, so.
Was that for an officer, not a chief?
Correct. Which is what we were talking about before they're going to do, so. But it was twice as long as the one that the MSU wrote for the police chiefs.
Much paperwork.
HR committee, I think we kind of covered all the employee stuff. And the committee's not active anymore, so we're.
I think they should be commended for the work that they did, particularly with respect to this wage recommendation, averages, et cetera, which Joe provided tonight. And now we have a reasonable basis to think about, should we be appropriating more money for wages in this department, that department, or the other department, or are we in pretty good shape? That's an enormous step forward.
Do we want
Where we were
a
at.
motion of commendation to the?
No, it's just, if the record wishes to show it,
Okay.
that's sufficient.
Okay. Glenn didn't raise the question about why are we paying overtime at this time of year in one of his emails. Anybody have any thoughts on that? I guess raking leaves or something, but we can't answer it, so we won't get lost in it.
I'm trying to scout troop here, because some of this stuff would be good done by the boys from community service.
Or girls. Or girls.
Or girls, I'm sorry. I bow to that side of the table. Something like that would be nice to have.
All right, the financial planning and the tools subcommittee. You all got Jonathan's email with his explanation of what Unismart is capable of. Where do we want to go with that?
I think we should table that right now until Jonathan comes back and can have our, get our questions ready, so that when he comes back to it, we can be ready to rock and roll on it.
And I think the question of how to move forward is really quite difficult. With the transition coming in the town offices, it's not clear who would be the person to train. And, I wonder whether the select board would authorize $600 even for this. Since this is being requested by a volunteer committee.
Ask him.
Well, it's not training for us, although it would be helpful for us to know how to use that system, but it's really training for the staff who are turning over and adjusting their job descriptions and everything else, right?
I don't think they could handle any more on their plate right now. They can't handle what they got, so.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what they're doing with just the two of them.
Yeah. So,
So we'll
busy time of year.
put that on the agenda for next meeting when Jonathan is available to.
I'm curious about his email, I was just looking back at it because I didn't remember everything he said, but should we be, I guess based on the information that he gave us, the fact that none of the monthly reports can be done at all, it sounds like, do we want to also start pursuing other reporting options that you can start to look into, or we can put those on hold for now?
Good question.
I mean, does the,
I have a running spreadsheet that's quarterly. Does that help?
well, I don't know, I mean, I guess I'm just sort of asking the question of the group, like,
Right.
what do people feel is sufficient? We wanted monthly reports, and so because we can't get it, are we just gonna settle for what we can get at a reasonable cost, or based on the fact that we have the software already, or do we wanna look at?
Les?
I think, a thought on this, and it's very simple. Let's get Jonathan in to report to us on every questions that we have about it. And secondly, I think this should be held over until after the holidays. We have a lot of things going on with the budget committee and our own lives. And I believe that this could wait another month until after the holidays.
I think the idea was to figure out what we wanted to do so that if there's gonna be costs involved.
Well, that was all Jonathan's.
Right.
He was supposed to report back.
You're right.
Probably be a hard time to arrange to spend that $600 before the end of the year anyway, though. If we decided we wanted to go with that.
Well, as Donna pointed out, all these reports can be done in Excel. It's not that they're impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, in terms of buying new software, I just can't imagine that is going to fly.
One thought I've had about the buying of the new software is, in theory, I don't even know if we had a number of estimated of what it was going to cost. Was it $5,000? Was it $10,000? Anybody know? We never got a number. I just wonder, like, if the software is designed to save us money, then so where's the payoff? If the software saves us $10,000 and it costs us $5,000 to buy it, then it was worth it, right?
And I think it's cost us more this year for software expenses.
Well, no, I mean, if we look at a new software solution, the software we have to have anyways, right? All the software we currently have is expired, is it not, or?
Right. I mean, that's the problem, is you really need someone like Jonathan who can look at these reports and say, oh, this is what this means. I worry that we'll look at these reports and say, well,
Raw numbers.
I wonder what that means.
Yeah, that's,
I make a motion that this be tabled until Jonathan is able to be here with us to explain everything.
I'll second that motion.
all right. All in favor? Carried. All right.
I don't think we took, well, one more step, I'm ready to go to. I don't think we went through the punch list status in great detail. And that's my point, there isn't a lot to go through. But again, it's things aren't getting done. The only one that's really getting done is the ambulance, the billing rate is going to change, and you guys are starting to peck away at the action plan in terms of job descriptions.
A little bit of effort to try to solve the building repair problems. If they can get somebody to do it. Although I suppose they could say, well, let's put some of our own DPW people to work on fixing this and that.
I'm not sure I agree. I think they're looking to hire somebody to do, like going forward, I'm not sure they're looking at what it might cost to fix the messes that we already have.
I thought they were going to get quotes on the entrances.
They've asked for somebody to give them quotes, but as I understand it, people haven't responded that they're willing to come over and give them a quote.
So, excuse me. Wrong season for outdoor construction, if you ask me.
Anything else on there that, on the punch list, Carol?
Well, there's a lot of things on there, but the building maintenance is obviously a biggie, as is the, the situation with employees and potential town manager and that kind of stuff, so.
Yeah. Now, you had mentioned, that Joel mentioned to you, Priscilla, that there is a meeting about the town administrators. Is that
There's a
confirmed?
meeting of them. I think it's a monthly meeting. And I assume there's one in December, but I'll ask Joel about it.
He alluded to that before, because I asked him about bringing up the whole issue with the health insurance at that meeting.
Or are you still
Oh, so I,
excited to be on top of that question?
yes, so I will ask Joel and I will send out the date to the committee in case anyone's interested.
All right. Any other business, old or new? Any comments, Michael? One issue that we got to consider is that the Conservation Commission meets once a month, is that correct?
First Wednesday, 5 o'clock.
And they like to have this room until 7. Do we want to readjust our time or to do it on a monthly basis as needed?
You really only have 3 Wednesdays where it's an issue, January, February, March.
In the summer, we only meet twice a month, right?
So we do second and fourth, you're clear in the summer.
Have we, I don't recall, I think I wasn't here for the meeting where we actually changed our time. Was that a permanent change that was made?
That was our last meeting on the 18th, we did make that
Okay.
as a regular, as a permanent change, but we can make another permanent change.
I move to permanently change it back to 7.
And a follow-up question to that is, are we planning to continue on the every week meetings for the foreseeable future? Or are we planning to, as the budget?
We meet the last Wednesday of the month.
Well, I think we will definitely need to until the deliberative session, because we got to be prepared for that. And probably after that, we won't need to meet weekly.
This is your opportunity,
That's
Stan.
my understanding of it.
You need a second motion.
I mean, based on,
I didn't think it would carry.
You don't have to be on the losing side.
I'm not wasting my breath. Yeah, it's simple enough. On the first Wednesday of the month, we meet at 7, otherwise 6:30. What's the big deal?
We change it.
Why make it difficult?
So we make just the first Wednesday?
We're going to get confused.
So we'll have
I
to,
think we should meet at a different time
Every week,
each week. How about
just to keep our members on the
30, 7:15,
Switch days, too.
4:45?
Okay.
And we'll come in.
Any review of our action items and
Where?
agenda items?
I'm getting
Carol's
punched up.
gonna check with Cam, we'll find out the current
Well,
wages.
I'm trying to close.
I have an action item for Joel to take Juliana's recommendations to the select board.
About phones.
And what about Glenn's response to Juliana's in the email? Is that part of what you need to do?
Don't
Glenn
think so.
sent a separate email and corresponded to my before earlier, but
I think,
I'll send that to Joel.
yeah, okay, so, and then I'm gonna send, I have this Sam's draft, I'm gonna send it out, and we're gonna vote on it next week.
Small pictures, small.
Yeah, that's it. Simple and small, it's the best way.
He likes that heading.
Mr. Chairman.
Make a motion.
I make a motion that this committee adjourns for this.
I second it.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here.